What is up, guys? ChewySlayer is back here today, guys, and if you can tell by what I'm holding in my hands right now, I'm going to be talking about the Venom movie today. This is just a piece of artwork that I got from a little auction that I won for, I think it was like 15 bucks I won it for, with Thor little stencil. It's on metal. It's pretty cool, but just wanted to show you that so you guys can get the image that I went and saw the movie. Also going to use that for the thumbnail. But guys, so this movie is honestly pretty solid. The things that I gotta say about it is it's definitely not a bad movie, and it's definitely surprising to see a movie of this kind of quality coming out from Sony when the past movies of Spider-Man haven't been, let's just say, favorable for the franchise. At least in my opinion. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I love Spider-Man to death. #1 favorite superhero of all time. But seeing this movie, the main thing that I think is really well done in this movie has got to be the chemistry between Venom and Brock. Surprisingly, it's their chemistry that makes this whole movie what it is. And without their interactions, I don't think this movie could very easily stand on its own. Because I hate to say this, but the story is kind of lackluster. It starts off pretty exciting with the ship crashing, and you're seeing the symbiotes in little jars, and it starts a whole big mystery of what exactly do these symbiotes need to do, or what they want, or why they are existing. But it's kind of nice. I liked how it started, but it builds up to not really much. It has some cool moments and some interesting interactions, and I think without the actors they chose for the roles in this movie, the story definitely doesn't seem to be anything really intriguing, at least for me as a comic book fan. And there's one big thing I feel like I have to mention here. It's not really a spoiler, but they took some liberties with it, which is understandable. Whenever you convert something from a different form into another form, you gotta take some creative liberties for it, because you can't have someone sit in a theater like it's a book and you have to read and have a bunch of different issues. No, you have to have them have a story within like a 2-hour format. That way you can fit it in. And so they had to make some creative liberties. They definitely wanted to make Venom a lot more darker, which he is pretty dark, but they really wanted to up like the level of like in your face kind of gore and stuff. Like they had some biting off the heads, but it seemed like with the PG-13 rating, they had to skew away from some of the darker elements that they were trying to reach for with how vicious they were trying to make Venom seem. And honestly, I kind of wish they just went with an R rating. I understand that might have hurt their end line, but I will say this, like I said it before, if Deadpool can have a rated R rating and do extremely well, plus, mind you, when I went and saw a Deadpool movie, I saw a kid who was about 6 years old in the theater, mind you. His dad brought him there, and he's like, "Don't tell mom, but I know you're going to enjoy it." The thing is, comic book movies, I really do think if they're trying to reach for something, they should be giving the rating that they need to reach that level of what they're trying to achieve. And I think Venom was held back here by their PG-13 rating. Now, true, a lot more people can see it, but it really felt like they wanted it to be an R movie, and you could tell with how they were framing things and trying to get things that they were really, really hesitant to show a lot of things on screen that would be really cool to see. I know it's a little bit disgusting, but if you're going to show it anyways, or at least try to like, oh, this happened, you know, point to it, why don't you just show it on screen? I think it would have been way cooler and made it seem like a lot more of this is what Venom is. He's an alien from space who just wants to murder. I don't know. What are you trying to do with this? You're trying to make him really dark, which I can understand, but it just felt like this rating was holding it back like really badly. And then another thing I have to mention before I do the rating. It bugs me. Still, it really does bug me. So if you guys know anything about parasites, right? If Venom is a parasite, even though he's a symbiote, he's supposed to live in symbiosis with the being. The way they went about it is that a symbiote kills their host if they're not compatible. Now, if you look at any sort of parasitic being within our planet, like this fungus, right? I don't know the exact name of the fungus, but basically it grows in the brain of an ant, which then dies and it gets eaten by something else. I think it's a spider, not sure, but it uses this method to reproduce and it helps their survival. The problem I have with the way they did the symbiote in the movie is it was killing their host, intentionally consuming the host's organs to feed itself, which in sense hurts their overall survivability. And it really bugged me because why would any sort of thing that needs another thing to live, why would it kill its host? I understand that it's not completely compatible, so it won't want to stay there. It might want to go seek out another host or just somewhere better for its own survival. But by it having that thing where it kills their host is because it's not compatible, I think is a detriment to their survival, and it really bugged me throughout the movie. Now, we can have different arguments about that, but I really feel like that change from the comics, because Venom in the comics bonded to Deadpool, which obviously made him completely insane, but he didn't kill Deadpool. You can say the regeneration factor, but he also bonded to Brock, Spider-Man. Everyone in the comics he's bonded to hasn't died from him bonding with him. Now, obviously, he took on some attributes from them because that's how the symbiotes work. But why in the movie were these symbiotes killing their hosts? It just doesn't make sense to me feasibly for their overall survival for them to be doing that. And that really, I feel like, dragged my rating down because I had to keep asking that question throughout the movie because it was bugging me. It was just straight bugging me throughout the movie. Now, the action and everything was good. The effects were amazing. I think Venom was really well done in CGI. I don't think they should ever try to do a costume version because this was just so well done in CGI. I don't think they can top it, at least in my lifetime. But my rating right now, guys, how I'm feeling with what I've said and what I've talked about is I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's definitely an above average movie. It's really solid for the interactions with Venom. And I really do think the thing that carries this movie through to at least a 7 rating is just how well the interactions were between the symbiote and Brock. And I just, it drives me nuts that it's the story that bogs it down with some really stupid tidbits that I didn't think really needed to be in there, like about the symbiote eating your organs. Why is he eating your organs? You're the host. If you die, he dies. That makes no sense to me. But other than that, guys, that is my rating. I will have a spoiler section. So if you guys want to click off this video, I understand. But we're going to go ahead and get into the spoiler section. Cover your ears, cover your eyes, because it's spoiler time. Welcome back, guys. If you're here for the spoilers, let's get into the juicy details of the spoilers section, I guess. So, in this movie, they made some references to She-Venom. There was a scene where Venom actually takes his ex-girlfriend for a ride, basically. And they've even said in the media that supposedly she wants to do a She-Venom movie, which I don't think would be right at the moment. Because it would be a bit confusing with how Venom is right now, at least in how the story ended. And also, at the end, they try to tie in Carnage. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the actor they want for Carnage is a good choice. But it kind of does bug me that the way he's introduced, right? The way that they bring him in is he's in prison, right? And he's getting interviewed. My problem with that is the whole reason why Carnage came into being was because Venom got stressed because they were both incarcerated together. And he ended up giving birth to Carnage, which became its own symbiote, which then merged with the guy and went on a rampage murdering people. But the thing is, I didn't like how that was tied in because knowing from the comic angle, Venom and they were both in prison together. They had at least a little bit more interactions than I am a reporter. I am interviewing you for an article. I understand that they had to take a different angle on this because they're cutting out Spider-Man, and they had to make it Venom have his own introduction and all this other stuff. But I think it's going to be really complicated for them to get it right. Like, for me personally, as a comic book fan, if they're going to try to bring in Carnage, because there was a bunch of interactions between him and the guy who's going to become Carnage. At least that's what they're referencing at the end of the movie. That has to happen, and because the whole thing is Venom has to basically give birth. I know it's kind of weird because Venom technically has no gender, but he seems very masculine, and I'm not going to get into much of that. But yes, he has to give birth, and I don't think you can really create that stressful environment for him to actually do that, to make Carnage a thing. Now, obviously, there's probably ways they can write it, but at least from the angle they're going about it, it got me a bit worried. I don't know. You never know how they're going to craft a story to fit what they're trying to do here. And we don't even know if there's going to be a second movie. But that's going to be the biggest thing I feel like this movie had me asking is this going to stay? Because it was a solid movie. Like I said, it was a 7 out of 10. But is this going to stay as actual like lore in the Venom mythology? What I mean by this, is this going to connect to the current MCU? Is it just going to be its own thing? Is it going to continue on? I really kind of do want it to continue on, but I do wish they would make some corrections, mainly with the symbiote consuming its own host's bodies. That just really, really bugs me. Why would it kill its host? Its main thing for surviving. Without the host, they would die. I'm sorry. I need to stop that. But it's been driving me nuts. But I do think they set up some good stuff here. I do think they picked the perfect actor for this role. And I can't wait to see if they're going to do anything more interesting later on. Because they're planning on making a few other movies for some of Spider-Man's villains, which I don't know how they're going to work per se without Spider-Man in there. I think Venom easily could stand by itself because he's had comics where he stand by himself as an anti-hero, and he's done a pretty good job at that, of being an anti-hero. Not like a Deadpool anti-hero, but at least interesting enough to follow and want to be interested in finding out more about him. And with the upcoming planned movies that they have in their roster, which I can't list off all the people's names. Oh, God, what is his name? The Hunter. I can't think of his name right now. I do apologize. But I'm doing this like way after I've seen the movie, and I haven't been thinking about it for a while, so I do apologize. God, I can't think of his name right now. I'll put his name on the screen during editing so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I don't see them doing a good movie for him unless maybe they even can tie him into the Venom franchise that they're trying to make here, because it's going to be really hard to really juggle anything else that is Spider-Man related without having Spider-Man at the forefront, at least with how they have it set up with Disney, having Spider-Man basically on lease to Disney so they can use them to make their own movies, which are obviously doing 100% better job. I really do love Spider-Man Homecoming, and I don't know if they were to ever tie in Venom into the Spider-Man stuff that's going on, which really does make me really interested if they're going to do it as like a buddy complex, or if they're going to do it as like Venom realizes that Spider-Man is his true host and tries to leave Brock and just tries to go on without him, and then he realizes Spider-Man doesn't want him because he makes him crazy. I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think it would be an interesting dynamic if he had to go through losing Venom to another person like Spider-Man. I think that would be an interesting movie. But like I said, with those key things about Carnage being introduced at the end, I don't know how they're going to tie him in, or how they're going to make Venom give birth to Carnage, or if they're going to just bring in another symbiote from space. I don't know what they're going to do with that. And then they made references to She-Venom, which in the comics, I haven't really read very much about her. per se. I'm mainly into just the main stuff with Spider-Man. I haven't really explored the anti-hero side of Venom or any of those other off comics that just focus mainly on developing the villains. And that's how I'm going to end this video on. If you guys want to talk about any of the spoilers I talked about here about She-Venom, Carnage at the end, or anything in between, please let me know in the comments down below. But I did hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like me to do more movie reviews in the future, please let me know what movie you would like me to review in the future. So remember, guys, keep on chewing, and I'll keep on slaying. See all you guys on the next video. Bye-bye!